Have your objectives of this war been achieved? Would you say that? Because at the end of the day, you have the leadership of the Hamas still being protected. So has that been recalibrated? Have there been changes in the objectives of this war?
No, they were not achieved and they are not changed. Because as we are very consistent, as I mentioned before, we have to get rid of Hamas leadership in Gaza and their capabilities to re-attack Israel and bring back the hostages. And I think these were not achieved, and there was pressure on Israel because now Rafah is the only place where we didn't go in. And there is, of course, a lot of pressure not to go into Rafah, but we told people you cannot, if you have a fire, extinguish 80% of the fire, it doesn't help. If there is still 20% of the fire, it will catch up full fire. And this is what we are trying to prevent. We have to go to Gaza, to Rafah, to find the hostages that are mostly probably there, and the leadership that is mostly probably there. We have to do that. We have to do it in a good way. Even the criticism that you mentioned about humanitarian, I think maybe, in the beginning, Israel was in a disarray. It took us time. Now the amount of humanitarian aid going in is not only limitless, it's over what is needed for daily upkeeping of people. Okay. So it's huge what is going on now. Thanks also to many donors and activists around the world who are helping. So we're very thankful also for that. But I don't think that humanitarian, at least not from the supply point of view, how do you disperse it in places where, like Rafah, where IDF is not there? This is another question. The problem is that Hamas uses it as a leverage on the population because they have the food. Either they ask people for money for food that is free, given free by donated free, or they use it as a tool. You will not get food if you don't do what we need you to do and stuff like that. So it's very complicated. People think that it's an easy thing. Why doesn't Israel do this? Israel do that? We are among the most sophisticated and experienced militaries in the world, technologically and otherwise. We have more lawyers than I think all militaries because everything is done with the lawyer in the background to make sure that we are adhering to international laws. It's very complicated. It's not a simple thing. If it would be simple and we could finish it in one day, believe me, we would have preferred. It is prolonging and very hard on us, but that's something we have to do. We cannot afford another October 7 attack.
One final question, Ambassador, is with regards to the expectation that you have from India at this point in time, particularly after the attack that took place from the Iranian side. We saw a balancing position that India has taken. Many would say it's a very practical position that India has taken, looking at the fact that we're looking at a de-escalation. How do you really view the position that India has taken?
I must say that from October 7, I would start there. I think that the Indian position was outstanding against terrorism, against Hamas. Already in the afternoon, when not everything was fully understood, the magnitude of this horrendous attack, already Prime Minister Modi tweeted very strongly against terrorism and support for Israel. And this set the tone, and I think that was the tone. I expect in general, we expect Iran is playing with all the world, destabilizing, supporting terrorism, now doing high seas piracy by states. I mean, hijacking. Before they did it just by proxy, by the Houthis. The Houthis are using Iranian armament. There is no doubt there, okay? Now Iran is doing it directly, and there was also a claim, by the way, that the ship, tanker, that like 2 months ago that was shot by from Iran on the way to just outside or inside the economic waters of India. So the Iranians are playing with all of us. And I think that we have to unite the normal world in order to put pressure on Iran to go back to being a normal country. And think one element that is very important here. All this behavior of Iran, would they have had nuclear weapon by now, would have been a totally different thing. On the one hand, for Israel, the Iranians, from the leadership down, many spoke about the need to wipe out Israel off the map. If they have nuclear weapon, theoretically, they also have the capacity to do that. Although you saw that our defense systems are very, 99% of interception of the incoming rockets. I mean, it's unprecedented, and with the help of great friends, US and other friends in the region, this is unprecedented. The capacity that self-Israeli technology that, by the way, is also exported or integrated into MRSAM, the joint anti-missile project that we have with India, this capacity is enormous. So if Iran would have a nuclear weapon, first of all, it's a risk for Israel. But think of this behavior of Iran: piracy, supporting terrorism, destabilization. If they would have the nuclear umbrella above their head, they would feel secure to do 10 times worse than they're doing now. So I think this only makes it stronger, clearer, why we have to prevent Iran from nuclear weapon, why we have to put pressure on Iran. And that's where we want the normal way, and especially our friends like India and other countries, to be.